Almost every solution that's ever been created started with a problem. So really that word problem needs to be reworked in our psyche. A problem doesn't need to not exist. A problem is an opportunity. It's the doorway for the revelation of the solution. Our ability to see multiple perspectives gets us closer to godliness, gets us closer to the source, gets us closer to universal wisdom. Because from the perspective of the rabbit, the fox that's hunting it is wrong. From the perspective of the fox, the rabbit is lunch. From the perspective of the forest, the quarrels between the foxes and the rabbits are necessary for the evolution of so much else of the forest that they're not even aware of. And so, because you went through an event, it may have contributed to the whole of the forest of this reality. This is an example of how we can create a positive spin to a very negative traumatic event. Is there anything that this negative traumatic event has stimulated you to be or to create or to be interested in that wouldn't have happened unless you went through this? And so a good question to ask yourself when you're in a hard space in life is really reflect on yourself and ask, what would the 80-year-old version of myself think of this? What would the 80-year-old version of myself think of it? And that's still like staying within the boundaries of our self, right? We're just going forward in time. We're not zooming out to the level of the forest and asking a question, what would the forest think about us as the rabbit? What would the forest think about the fox? We're not doing that. We're just thinking, what would the more wiser version of us think about this? Would they be stirred up as much? Because we all right now can think about how we were when we were 14 years old and what we cared about with absolute importance and energy. In every moment, there's choices, and the choice is to be the greatest version of yourself that you know how to be. If you're in the darkness right now, it's really difficult to just forget about it. Okay, you're saying detach, so I'm just going to detach. Oh, but it's still there. Yes, it's, again, a dynamic process. I personally like to take people through drills and exercises where we override the experience, because just emptying, just detaching, just telling ourselves, don't think about that, that basically makes us think about it. And so an example of that is what I did earlier. And what I did earlier was say, put your current scenario in a box, and are you able to look at it from another perspective? And if you're focusing on that other perspective of how is this good for me? How is this good for society? How does this contribute to the whole of existence? And you're focusing on that, now you're attaching to this story. There's going to be less of you that can attach to the other story. So that's why I said, put it in a box, put it aside. You don't need it now. Are you able to rewrite a different story? And you literally can rewrite it. You can journal out your experience as it happened, how it impacted you. I'm sure that's very easy to do because we've been rerunning it our entire life. And then another sheet of paper, we flip that sheet of paper over, or that book over, whatever it is. And now we write down how this has benefited us, how this is going to benefit reality, how this is going to benefit society. That's one way. Another way, flip the page over and rewrite the whole entire scenario. How would it have needed to be in order for you to be joyous, harmonious, happy, loving to this individual? What differences would need to have happened? A lot of people don't think to do that because we're not wired to rewrite our past, because we're taught that the past has happened and there's no way of changing it. So when we journal about the past experience, the traumatic experience, are we able to create a different past? Are we able to, just like we create a vision board and we get the training wheels of feeling into that, are we able to create a different past to train us, like training wheels, how to feel harmonious with where we came from? You see, because we think about the past is not happening anymore, but it is happening if we're holding on to it. If we're holding on to the trauma, it's absolutely happening now. You're connected to that reality. It's happening. You're holding on to it. You're dragging it with you. So what do we do about that? What's the alternative reality? Do you know what that is? Write it down. Think about it. Contemplate on it. Now you have an alternative perspective of being. And if you practice this, it may not work the way that you were hoping for the first time because you have no concept of what it's supposed to do. But as you practice it again and you practice it again, you'll start to feel like, oh, maybe like it's a new sensation. And you get better and better and better at it through repetition. And when we learn to rewrite our past and how we feel about it and how we relate with it, we can absolutely rewrite our current present moment. And then we can rewrite our future. We can rewrite our relationships. And this is how we create a harmonious reality. This is how we embody creatorship.